You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you for tuning back in. We are about to start our second Cabral house call of the weekend. This is, of course, it's not a follow-up to yesterday's show because they're each their own show unto themselves. You don't have to listen to one show to be able to get a lot of information out of the other. But I will say this. We answered some amazing questions yesterday. Some really, really great ones. And if you didn't tune in, you have to check that out. Everything from boosting testosterone and how testosterone is actually, there's a missing link between that and thyroid. Not a lot of people know about that. We talked about some vegan-based options while doing the Dr. Ball detox. We talked about stress and how it weakens the immune system. So again, a lot of great questions answered. I think we answered about 6 or 7 yesterday. We're going to do about another 6 or 7 today. I will always keep these shows under 30 minutes because I want to respect your time as well. And I do believe that, in my opinion, listening to each day's show will further your education in natural health. And so I would rather do shorter shows and you listen every day. Even if it's a topic that you don't think directly applies to you, you're going to get something out of it. And I'll tell you why. Even if it doesn't apply to you today, it could apply to you in the future and you'll already know about it. Or I'm guaranteeing you know someone in your life that this is applicable to. So anyway, I'm excited to get started. Really, really great topics today. We're going to start out with Monique. I'm not sure if it's the same Monique as it was to start out yesterday's show, but we're going to answer her question right now. So she writes in, "Hi, Dr. Ball. I've been loving learning about my own health from you, following my plan and listening to this amazing podcast, but I'm now curious about my mom's health. She was diagnosed with Crohn's disease around 2010 and her small intestine removed and part of her large as well. She was very skinny then. She was very sick. She currently eats 1 full meal a day and maybe something else small, and has since gained weight back and is now just slightly overweight. She drinks coffee every morning. She loves veggies, but finds that it causes her to go to the bathroom too much and eats carbs like potatoes, pasta, and bread to make it so she holds her bowel movements. She used to have accidents often. She is B12 deficient and gets the shots every month. She is also slightly anemic. She, within the last few years, has also grown a large hernia on her stomach. Just wondering what advice I could give her to start living a healthier and happier life. Thank you so much for everything you share with us, all Monique." Okay, great. So I want to make sure I read this correctly so I can give you the proper advice. In 2010, she had her small intestine removed and part of her large as well. Okay. So, of course, I've worked with people who've had this same operation. You know, we can't go back in the past, right? None of us can. I was prescribed over 3,000 antibiotics. Not 300, not 30, 3,000 that I swallowed twice a day, every morning, every night. When I got home, when I woke up in the morning, when I got home from school. And I did that for over 3 years straight. It led to my just absolute demise in terms of health, and I had to rebuild my body from the ground up after that, after it basically just wiped out my immune system. Okay, your mom had her intestine removed. That is always going to be an issue now moving forward. Again, you can't put the intestines back in, but your small intestine is about 23 feet or so. Your large intestine is about 5 to 6 feet. She only has a little bit of the intestine left, but the small intestine is where your body absorbs most of the food. Now you're asking the large intestine to do some of that, not necessarily its job. She is most likely, or in my opinion, should be using the daily activated multivitamin or the daily support shake. So basically the daily nutritional support shake. If she's not getting all of her methylated vitamins. She's B12 deficient and a lot of other vitamin deficiencies that might not even be showing up because a lot of people don't know this. They're manufactured. They're made naturally in the intestines. Your mom doesn't have her intestines anymore, essentially. So, and yes, she wants to go for the carbs like the potatoes and the pasta because they're easy to break down. And yes, she's right. It's very difficult for her to break down veggies. And that's why I can't recommend enough the daily fruit and vegetable blend as well, because that's already been broken down. It's in powdered form. It's going to be 22 organic fruits and vegetables that she's getting in the powdered form without all the fiber. Remember, your mom's digestive system no longer really exists. It doesn't. She has her stomach. She has a little bit of her intestines left. So let's say out of the 28 feet or so that a person typically has of digestive tract, she might have 4 or 5 feet total left from her esophagus to stomach to large intestine. And this isn't to scare you. This isn't to do anything. It is what it is. We deal with our current situation and we move forward. No problem. We just keep moving forward. She's anemic. Yes, because how are you supposed to absorb iron from your food? How are you supposed to absorb copper, the B vitamins, the magnesium, the calcium, all these things that cause these things? So she's going to have to get it in supplement form. She can do a plant-based iron. We recommend the company Innate Response. We have it. Well, we don't actually sell it, but we recommend it. And it's called Iron Response. It's a nice one to do as well. So easy to digest meals. And I don't necessarily disagree with 1 meal per day. And the reason is, it's taxing on our digestive system. Now, 1 meal a day, I don't know. I probably wouldn't just do that. But I understand where she's coming from. I'd love to see maybe some oatmeal with berries in the morning. That's easy to digest, and that will be healthy. She can take her multi with that. I would like her to see her, or ideally do the smoothie in the morning as well, if possible. If she can absorb that as well, maybe just sip it over a period of an hour or two. So again, it's not straightforward, right? I can't give you medical advice because I'm not working with her directly, but hopefully that gets you started, Monique. You're doing a great job helping people, so appreciate it. Okay, Michael's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I would appreciate to pick your brain on a question I have. Unfortunately, I just had my 3rd round of food poisoning in the last 6 months. The first one was from oysters, second from sketchy Mexican food at the airport, and the third from some hot bar wings. My stomach has seemed to get a little bit more sensitive, and I'm wondering if you have any protocols to follow after you get food poisoning or any wisdom around how to get my gut feeling stronger after all these rounds of food poisoning. Thanks, Michael. Okay. I've done shows like this before, certainly spoke about this before on the Cabral House Call, and I'm happy to answer this again. So here's the thing. Anyone who gets multiple bouts of food poisoning, it's a dead giveaway to me that they either have H. pylori, that's an infection, it's a bacteria in the gut, and I just did that on a previous Cabral podcast last weekend, so tune into that, or they have low stomach acid. Okay, so H. pylori can actually eat stomach acid, hydrogen, and you can lower your stomach acid in general. It doesn't have to have H. pylori to have low stomach acid. You might have been on a proton pump inhibitor, a Zantac, a Prilosec, or one of those things in the past. So if you don't have acid in your stomach, people think like, oh, well, acid's bad. That's not true. Your stomach's supposed to be very acidic when you eat. And that acid kills the bacteria that would then give you food poisoning. Okay? So that's why stomach acid is very, very important. When I went overseas and I was eating all sorts of strange food that my body was not used to, I would purposely take betaine HCl. I would take digestive enzyme that had like our daily digestive that has papain in it. It has bromelain in it. And I would also have a little spice with the meal because that will work up some of that heat in the stomach. I would do ginger. I would do wasabi. I would do something like that with some heat to try to help burn things up as well. And it works great. I mean, it worked for me. I will talk about a story another time that I did get food poisoning. And whenever you do get food poisoning, the best thing to do is something called the intestinal cleanse. You'll see that at stevencabral.com/store and really just look that up. It's amazing. And that's my highest recommendation for you right now. The intestinal cleanse actually helps. Unlike a lot of just cleanses, which is a laxative, this pulls bacteria right out of the intestines, like bad bacteria, pathogens, parasites. It contains bentonite clay, activated charcoal. It's used for food poisoning. Amazing. It only lasts a week. That's all you need to do it for. And then after that, you can do a stool test to look for H. pylori, or you can use if you tune into episode 515, I just did a podcast on that as well. You can use a product called Healthy Belly. That's a great product to use to help get rid of H. pylori if you do have it, because it contains berberine, mastica gum, zinc, all sorts of great products in there. And so that's a great place to get started. The stool test or the Healthy Belly. It depends on how in-depth you want to get. No matter what, I would do the intestinal cleanse. I would start doing the daily probiotic support after that. And then you can take it from there. All right, Lindsay is up next. Hi, I'm just wondering if food sensitivities change. For example, I did the IgG test a year ago. Would it always show the same sensitivities? And if not, why would this change over time? Thanks. Okay. Lindsay, great question. Yes, you can grow out of your food sensitivities. Multiple reasons why. Okay, first reason. If you've done some work on your gut, meaning like if you cleaned up the candida, if you cleaned up the bacteria, if you've done our candida and bacterial protocol, you've removed the pathogens, to a certain extent. You don't get rid of them completely. What you do is you get them back in balance. So you wipe them out, you let the good stuff then start to grow. You start taking your daily probiotic support. That's a product that, of course, we offer that we really love because it's dairy-free, it's low histamine, really works great for sensitive gut people. And then you start doing things like glutamine or zinc or just both of those are in our product called Healthy Gut Support. Remember, things don't get better if you don't do anything. People ask me like, oh, well, do I really have to do this? Do I really have to? Yes, you do. Like your body is a plant. It's a organism. It grows. It can get worse. It can get better. If you give a plant sunshine, if you give it water, if you give it carbon dioxide, if you give it the nutrients and the soil that it needs, it will grow strong. If you deprive it of anything that it needs, it gets weak. You have to give your body what it needs. Okay. So if you do those things and you clean up some of this leaky gut, you start pulling together those membranes in the intestines, well, you have less proteins that leak out. And your body's not reacting to sugar for a sensitivity, for real food sensitivities. Now, you can feel digestive issues because of that. And it's not reacting to the fat. It's reacting essentially to the proteins, okay? And so if the gut wall is sealed up tight and it's only letting individual amino acids through, well, you're not going to react to the protein. So yes, now your food sensitivities can get dramatically better. If you've listened in on previous Cabral concepts, I share stories about how people dramatically improve. And also, if you just join CabralSupportGroup.com, it's a free group online, really positive people. They share their results. They're getting amazing results. It's free to join and you can see how people's food sensitivities are going away. Okay, why else would it go away? Well, when you remove a food, if for 6 weeks, 12 weeks, or 6 months, depending on the severity, it gives your immune system time to calm down, to basically chill out. When it can do that for a certain period of time, it then is less reactive, okay? And it's less reactive to that specific food. All right. We see this all the time. Even if the food allergy doesn't completely go away, we'll see it become lessened. That's a big thing as well. So that's my advice. Now, will some always stay? Yes, some people always have a sensitivity to cow's milk, or some people always have a sensitivity, like myself, to kidney beans. It's very strange. It's very random, but I can't have kidney beans. Like my body, again, I don't feel anything when I eat kidney beans. Totally fine. I can eat chili with kidney beans, no problem. But kidney beans are food sensitivity for me. So what happens is, after I eat kidney beans, IgG means it's a latent response, 24 hours, 72 hours later. So a couple days after I eat kidney beans, it can actually start to cause inflammation in my body. Do I relate it to the kidney beans? No, because it's been a day or two. That's why I highly recommend people do a food sensitivity test, because you will never know what's causing inflammation in your body in terms of foods if you do not do a food sensitivity test. Can't recommend enough. I will link all these labs today, all the supplements, all the intestinal cleanse, everything that I'm mentioning today. Simply go to StephenCabral.com/520. Again, every single Cabral concept is found at StephenCabral.com/podcasts, and you can always find today's show and show notes. And every show notes, I make it easy. Whatever I mention in the show, I link up with a link. Hopefully that helps. Okay, Jeanette is up next. And her question is, hi, Dr. Ball. I've been working out regularly, doing a DVD called Body Pump 3 days a week for at least 30 to 60 minutes, 5 to 7 days a week. I eat fruits, veggies, grass-fed beef, and organic chicken, and occasionally fish when I can find a good source. I do have a sweet tooth, but I try to keep that to a cheat day, and then dark chocolate with 80% or higher, and usually only a couple times a week. I do drink coffee. I recently purchased Bulletproof coffee to see if that makes a difference. No matter what I do, I can't seem to get rid of the cellulite on the front and back of my thighs and butt. I feel like I'm missing something. I'm 42 and weigh 135 pounds. I'm not overweight, but I also feel like I have more on toned muscle and could lose 5 to 10 pounds. I hear about keto and how it helps to burn body fat as fuel. Would you suggest being this for a good lifestyle try? Do you have any suggestions why I can't lose the supplements or why I can't lose the cellulite? Is there any supplement I should take? Okay, so here's the thing. Keto diet, especially for women, is horrifying in the long run, meaning that I get to see it every day in my practice. It causes higher cortisol. It causes lower thyroid. Okay. You can always test this. Anyone who doesn't believe me, then you just lab test to prove me wrong. And I'm okay with that. Who does a keto style diet work best for? Typically people and men who are endomorphs, larger body types. Okay. But still, if your keto diet is predominantly saturated fat and devoid of a lot of vegetables, you're not going to be a healthy human being. Not in the long run. In the short term, your body can put up with a lot of abuse. It's true. But so this is not something I recommend for you before I go down the path. Now, I've spoken about cellulite many times in the Cabral concept, so I'm not going to go in depth today. I'm going to simply link up those previous shows for you in the show notes. So just go to stephencabral.com/520, and I will link up all of the shows on cellulite that will tell you how to get rid of it. I'll talk about rebounding. I'll talk about dry brushing. Those are all fantastic. They will help. I'll talk about self-massage because really cellulite is about body fat, but it's about the misshapen fascia as well and the intertwining of and misshapen adipose tissue fat that is giving it that bumpy shape. Okay. But here's the thing too. Doing a detox, and you can do the Dr. Ball detox or not. Do whoever's you feel is best. I'm totally fine with that. But when you have cellulite, you're looking at a toxicity issue. You are looking at a toxicity issue. Yes, you need the fruits, you need the veggies. Those are not toxic to your body. Those are cleansing. I can't recommend enough the 7, 14, or 21 day Dr. Ball detox to you. Again, you can use any detox you choose, but remember, a functional medicine detox is not a cleanse or anything like that. It is a liver detoxification. So it's just not an interesting name to call it a liver detox. And plus people get all scared when they hear that. All it is just cleaning your blood. Your blood is basically gives you life or takes it away. It fortifies, it strengthens your liver. That is my highest recommendation. Okay. Hopefully that helps. And I'd love to hear your success story with that. Danny's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm a fourth-year medical student and aspiring functional medicine doctor. I've learned so much from your podcast and love tuning in every day. In short, I have 4 homozygous polymorphisms of COMT, for which, if I'm not mistaken, I should supplement hydroxy B12 and avoid methyl B12 and methylfolate. I also have a heterozygous polymorphism of MTHFR, C677T, which is the most common, Danny, by the way, for which I should take methyl B12 and methylfolate. It seems like what is therapeutic for one problem is toxic for the other and vice versa. Hence my question, what should I do? Will supplementing with both hydroxy and methyl B12 counteract each other like 2 horses running in opposite directions? I also recently did your organic acids test and had a follow-up call with Caitlin, which was really helpful. On my organic acid test, my quinolinic acid to serotonin ratio was high, 9.0. And we concluded that this was due to low serotonin, as my quinolinic level was 0.72. I know MTHFR is involved in the synthesis of serotonin via tryptophan. Could the lower serotonin level be due to this MTHFR mutation? I know this is pretty detailed stuff, but I hope there are people out there with both COMT and MTHFR polymorphisms who've had similar questions. Really appreciate you taking time to do these house calls and for the awesome podcast, Best Danny. Okay, so Danny, the good news is this. I am one of those people you were talking about. So I have both the COMT and MTHFR gene mutations. It's one of the reasons why I was so susceptible to getting sick when I was younger. And it wasn't until I met my very last mentor. This was, it was a little bit more than a decade. Well, it was over a decade ago now. Time flies. That she was the very first person. She was basically an old school, I don't like using the word old school, but she was basically a naturopath, traditional naturopath, and a functional medicine doctor. And you can see like with Ayurveda, she brought this together for me. She was the first person to show me what was going on. I want to share with you what worked for me, might work for you as well. Now, before I do that, I want to tell you this. I run genetic testing all the time. I use the best labs in the entire world, without a doubt. I use one out of Australia. Hands down, the best lab in the world. They give you a 100-page booklet on you. Nobody else does that. No one else touches it. 23andMe is not the lab that people should be using. I have to say that over and over. Great, fun company, all those things. They're not a wellness-based company. You have to use a good genetic test. Okay, here's the thing. Unless you are having health issues right now, you should not be supplementing with B12 and extra folate. You should be using what isn't a methylated vitamin, activated multivitamin. or something like the Daily Nutritional Support Shake, meaning 400 micrograms of methylfolate or nature folate. And I mean, again, B12 can be 500, 1,000 micrograms, up to 5,000 micrograms. Fine. But what happens is this. It's not just about MTHFR and it's not just about COMT. So again, for everyone who has no idea what this is looking at methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. And again, I know that means nothing to a lot of people. Danny's a 4th-year medical student. I was in his same position over a decade ago. I studied all these things. You want to know all the intricacies, but here's the thing. Sometimes we overtreat people. Okay, that's an issue because by over-treating people, and if their liver isn't functioning well enough, which is a lot to do with the COMT as well, then what we have here is someone who is taking too high a dosage of these methylated vitamins. Now, the same symptoms you would get from having too low of folic acid or folate, too low of B12, too low of B6, which you didn't even mention, which we'll talk about in a moment. You get the same symptoms if you go too high as if you're too low. So I like a standard dosage and I only use more if called for. And I will start with the adenosyl or I will start with the methyl versions and I will use a combo if needed for these. Okay, and that's not hard to find. But typically I'm just using the methylated versions. And because what seems to happen for a lot of these issues is more to do with the MTHFR in terms of inflammation, B vitamin conversion, those types of things. Okay, so I'll work on that first. I'll see how that's doing. I will also support the liver. Now, here's the thing you didn't mention in terms of serotonin and quinolinic acid. The missing piece to this is vitamin B6. Okay, paradoxal 5-phosphate. This is what's missing. This, yes, I had all of these things. Guess what? My mentor, yes, she gave me extra B12. She didn't give me the extra folate. I'm not actually a huge advocate of supplementing with extra folate. Danny, you'll probably find this out yourself. Supplementing with extra folate, meaning like going above 1,000 to 1,200 micrograms, I see worse. I don't see that get better unless I find someone with high homocysteine on their blood labs. Okay, I'm going way too in depth. Danny, what you're missing right now a lot of times is B6, vitamin B6. It is the missing B vitamin that no one talks about. It is so much more important in my opinion than the folate, than the B12. And the reason is it is being found out more and more. It acts as like an enzyme converter. So you can't jump from tryptophan to 5-hydroxytryptophan to serotonin without B6. It's just not going to happen. It is not going to happen. It's like trying to convert T4 to T3 for your thyroid without selenium. Good luck. It's not going to happen. Okay, so Danny and I are kind of geeking out here. For everyone else, we're going to move on to the next question, get back down to earth. But Danny, hopefully that gets you started. You know, I love talking about these things, and I'll do some more bonus shows on genetics in the future as well. All right, Deborah's up next, and Dr. Cabral, you are the coolest. Thank you. This is what Deborah's writing. Thank you for sharing info about health and wellness that will have long-term impact for people around the world and for generations. I'm very interested in holistic nutrition and want to begin the journey of becoming a nutritionist and figure out what I want to specialize in. Do you have any good books to get started with reading for that field? If you have any good starter books to get an idea of different specializations of natural health or natural health in general, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do, Deborah. I'm not going to give you the specific book. I get asked this all the time. I just can't do that. And the reason is that what speaks to me is not going to speak the same way to you. We learn, we absorb, we see things from our own perspective, but I want to give you advice. So here's what I would do, okay? So you want to get into nutrition. You want to get into health and wellness. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at a few different areas first, and I want you to go on to Amazon, and I want you to look in these areas and see which book speaks to you. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to study is I want you to study an anti-inflammatory nutrition plan. Just learn about which foods are inflammatory and which ones aren't, okay? Then I want you to learn about gut health. So I want you to look up a book on gut health, okay? So remember, when you read one of those books, it's going to lead you down a rabbit hole. Like maybe within gut health, all of a sudden you read about this thing called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And you said, what's that? Oh, like maybe I have that. And then you start to read more about that. So again, all you need to do is choose a book. Inside of that book, there'll be another book waiting for you. People ask me how I've read over 3,500 books. And I said, all I did was start with one. That next book led me to this one, to this one, to this one. And typically each book led me to 3 or 4 others, meaning they mentioned other books. And I said, oh, I want to look that book up. And then I ordered that book and I had a stack of books waiting for me. And then I would start to consume 3 books a week, 4 books a week. I'll talk about how I read books so quickly in the future because I know a lot of people are asking, but that's what I do. Okay, so we have a book on anti-inflammatory nutrition. We have a book on, I want you to read about gut health. I want you to read about a book on why people do a vegan diet. Then I want you to read a book on why people do a paleo diet. I want you to see both sides of the same coin. I want you to see why people would choose one or the other, okay? I want you to get that knowledge. Then what I want you to do is I want you to read a book on Ayurveda. Why not? I want you to read a book about Ayurvedic medicine and body types. Then after that, maybe you read a book like William Walcott's, I know I said I wouldn't rather mention a specific one, The Metabolic Typing Diet. I want you to start reading books that interest you because the field of health and wellness is enormous. Like you heard Danny and I just talking about genetics, okay? That's called nutrigenomics, using food, using supplements to help heal our genetic mutations. Maybe you just go deep down that path and that's what you study. So the thing is this, you can't study everything. You can't. I mean, you can over the course of 3 to 5 years. And depending on how fast you read, how much time you dedicate to your study. I mean, I still dedicate 60 to 90 minutes a day to my own research and study. And I know people say, well, I don't have that kind of time. Well, no one does. I just make the time. I read early, I read at lunch, and then I might read before bed. Like I just make the time. And it's not for, I'm reading for like 90 minutes at a time, although I might do that on the weekend if I get a chance. But for the most part, I'm finding the time when I get the time, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And I taught myself how to read quickly so I can consume a whole book in a day. I can consume a whole book in 60 to 90 minutes. Okay, but that comes later. First, you just have to get into reading. You need to learn to love to read. And if you don't love to read, well, then start to do audiobooks. And with audiobooks, you can listen to at 1.5 times the pace or 2 times the pace, as long as you can comprehend. But remember, the only point in reading is to be able to comprehend and get the education from it. So it's just, again, like different things work for different people. The audiobooks don't work for the same as me. I have a very strange brain, and that brain does one thing well. It sees something on paper, not hear it. I don't work with the auditory. I work with the visual, okay? When I see words on paper, it forms basically an image in my brain, and the image never goes away. So that allows me to do, and again, I've tried many different things, and people say, oh, you should just do this, this, and this. It doesn't work that way. For me, and it's even more so, it's more tangible when I'm holding the book. It doesn't even work the same when I'm doing it on a Kindle or an iPad. It works when I'm holding the book, which is why I have all of these books. And so again, this is essentially an answer saying that you need to find out what works best for you, and you just have to get started. What interests you? I wouldn't even pick a book that I just mentioned. What interests you? What about, you have to start with nutrition, right? Because it's all about nutrition. That's what it's about. That's the first step. When people come to me for a wellness plan, they get supplements, without a doubt, because if your body isn't strong enough to heal on its own, you need to give it a push. Now, those supplement plans usually last for 12 to 16 weeks, and they're weaning off for the most part. We're doing something like the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol after that, and a couple of things that are personalized for them. In the beginning, more, and then we wean off. But they're getting detoxification, they're getting exercise, they're getting sample meal plans, they're getting all these things. But nutrition is what makes up the majority of their plan. So you have to study that first. Now, you just decide, what about nutrition interests you the most right now? Okay, start with that first book, move on to the next. We're going to keep it at that for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in to another Cabral House Call. I appreciate each and every one of your listens. I really do. I just find this community so amazing. And honestly, I'm honored to be doing this show.
Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.